The Krelzeth High Council had made their decision with cold mathematical precision. When the evacuation fleet departed from Colony 7, they calculated acceptable losses, 0.3% margin of error, statistically insignificant casualties in the grand strategic withdrawal. What they hadn't calculated was that the 0.3% would be human. They definitely hadn't calculated on it being Maya Chen. Admiral Vexter reviewed the holographic display with 3 of his 4 eyes while the 4th monitored the approaching vessel. It was impossible. The readings had to be corrupted. "Scan again," he commanded, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "Sir, the scans are accurate," his sensor officer replied, mandibles clicking nervously. "Single vessel, human design, modified beyond recognition, and it's accelerating. One ship cannot challenge a battle fleet. Sir, it's transmitting on all frequencies, audio only." Vexter's scales rippled with the Krelzeth equivalent of a sigh. "Play it." The voice that filled the command deck was calm, almost conversational, with an accent that marked her as originating from old Earth's Asian continent. But underneath that calm was something that made even the Admiral's battle-hardened crew shift uncomfortably. "This is Maya Chen, formerly of Colony 7, formerly of the United Earth Defense Force, formerly someone who trusted the Galactic Coalition to keep their promises. You left me behind. You left a 12-year-old boy behind. You left 247 civilians behind when you decided we were statistically acceptable losses." Vexter's primary heart skipped a beat. That was classified information. How did she? "William died in my arms on day 43, Maya continued, her voice never wavering. "Radiation poisoning from the reactor you sabotaged to cover your retreat. He asked me why the ships didn't come back. I didn't have an answer for him, but I have an answer for you now." The sensor officer's voice cracked. "Sir, she's not slowing down. Impact in 3 minutes. All weapons target that vessel. Fire at will." The fleet's combined firepower lit up the void. Plasma cannons, rail guns, and quantum torpedoes converging on the approaching ship. When the light cleared, it was still coming. "How?" Vexter whispered. 4 years earlier. Maya had been a xeno-engineer, one of the best. She designed the interface systems that allowed 14 different species to work together on Colony 7. She'd learned 12 languages, attended 17 different cultural ceremonies, and truly believed in the dream of the Coalition. Then the Vraxi warfleet arrived, and the Coalition fled. She remembered standing at the landing pad, William's small hand in hers, watching the last transport ships lift off. They'd been running, trying to catch the evacuation. The boy's parents were already dead, caught in the initial bombardment. She'd promised she'd keep him safe. The ships had sealed their doors and launched with 247 people still on the ground, screaming, waving, begging. The official report would later state that the colony was completely evacuated, with minimal casualties. Day 1 after abandonment. "What do we do now?" William had asked, his eyes wide with fear but still trusting. Maya looked at the ruins of Colony 7, at the other survivors, mostly workers, a few engineers, some families. Then she looked at the boy. "We survive," she said, "and then we make sure this never happens to anyone else." "Present." "She's through our defensive perimeter." The sensor officer's voice was pure panic now. "Sir, her weapons. I've never seen signatures like this." Vexter watched as Maya's ship. He could now see it was cobbled together from colony infrastructure, Vraxi scrap, and what looked like 3 different freighter hulls, tore through his flanking cruisers like they were paper. Her weapons didn't just destroy. They systematically disassembled vessels with surgical precision, targeting life support, engines, weapons, leaving crews alive but helpless. "She's not trying to kill them," his tactical officer observed with dawning horror. "She's neutralizing them. She wants us to see this." Another transmission. The Vraxi came to colony 3 months after you abandoned us. You knew they would. Your intelligence reports predicted it with 94% accuracy. But we were just 0.3%, weren't we? Vexther's scales paled. Those reports were eyes only. How could she possibly? The Vraxi expected easy prey, Maya continued. They got humans who had nothing left to lose. I taught them what I learned from building coalition tech. I taught them what humanity does best. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. And when someone hurts our own, we remember. The Vraxi encounter, day 134. The Vraxi warlord had stood over William's grave, laughing at the pathetic memorial. Maya had stood in the shadows, waiting. She'd learned that humans could be patient in ways that made predators look impulsive. When she finally moved, she'd taken their weapons, their ships, their technology. The survivors, human and the few Xenos who'd been left behind, had learned Vraxi engineering through trial, error, and necessity. They'd learned to think like warriors because the galaxy had decided they weren't worth protecting. The Vraxi fleet never reported back to their homeworld. Their technology did make it back to human hands, though. Present. Maya's ship was now holding position directly in front of the flagship, close enough that Vexther could see the hull plating. A patchwork of human determination and alien technology, welded together with fury and grief. "Admiral," she said, her image finally appearing on his screen. She was thin, scarred, with eyes that had seen too much but hadn't broken. Behind her, he could see the interior of her ship, a cramped cockpit filled with systems that shouldn't work together but somehow did. "I could destroy this fleet. The technology I've developed over 4 years, combining human innovation with everything I've scavenged, learned, and stolen, could crack your shields like eggs." She leaned forward. "But I'm not a monster. Unlike the Coalition, I don't believe in acceptable losses. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to return to the Council. You're going to tell them that every colony, every outpost, every single sentient being under Coalition protection is sacred. Not 99.7% of them. Not the statistically significant ones. All of them." "And if we don't?" Vexther asked, though he already knew his fleet was outmatched. "Then I'll visit every council member's home world," Maya said softly. "Not to destroy them, but to tell them about William, about how he loved stargazing, how he wanted to be a pilot, how he died asking when help was coming. And I'll make sure every being in the galaxy knows that the Coalition's word means nothing, that their promises are worth less than vacuum." She smiled, and it was terrifying in its humanity. Sad, determined, and absolutely unbreakable. "Humanity has a saying, Admiral, leave no one behind. You taught us what happens when others forget that lesson. I'm making sure you never forget again." The transmission ended. Vexther looked at his officers, at his crippled fleet, at the impossible ship that hung in space like a promise and a threat. "Set course for the Council homeworld," he said quietly. "And someone draft a new protocol. Full evacuation means full evacuation. No exceptions. No acceptable losses." As his fleet limped away, Maya sat alone in her cockpit, looking at the small photograph magnetically attached to her console. William smiled back at her, frozen in a moment before the galaxy taught him that promises could be broken. "We did it, kiddo," she whispered. "They'll remember now." In the vast darkness of space, one human ship turned and headed for the frontier, where rumors spoke of other forgotten colonies, other abandoned outposts. Maya Chen had found her purpose. No one would be left behind again, not on her watch. Humanity, after all, never forgot its own. End.